Hi, I'm Mark Douglas, co-founder and CEO of Homey. I'm joined by my co-founder, Lindsay Holland. And I actually live in LA. I grew up in the Bronx, and I've walked every street of the city. I can honestly tell you I've never been to Brooklyn Cruise Terminal. But
First time for everything.
Yeah. But that's what's actually great about New York. I just realized I need something. Is there's a lot of great architecture. And when people find a new apartment in the city and find a great place, they generally love it. What they don't love is the process of getting it. Everyone, I'm sure, in this room has at some point in your life rented at least one apartment, if not more. It's not a process anyone likes. In fact, if you survey renters and find out there's a lot of things most people don't like doing that they actually prefer to renting an apartment, like their taxes, going to dentists, things like that. So what we're doing at Homey is we're completely reinventing the rental process. We're in fact completely reversing that process. And so what I want to do now is show you how it works. So can we go to the demo? So first thing we're going to do in the Homey app is we're going to essentially pick a city that we want to look for an apartment in. And there's a quick tutorial, so we can go through that. We can skip that when we're done. So the first thing that's unusual or different about the app is the first thing it asks you is, what's your income? Why would we show you apartments outside your income range? And so we answer that question, and we keep going. It also prompts you if you have roommates, so you can add a roommate, and it will anonymously combine you and your roommate's income. And we click next, and we go on. And then we can start looking at apartments. Now the key to what makes Homey work is every apartment you see in the Homey app, you're pre-approved to rent. So if you go and see the apartment and you like it, you basically already know you're gonna get it. And the pre-approval is initially based on your income, and then later in the app it's gonna prompt you for your social security number, and it'll be based on your income and your credit. So we'll drive down into one of the apartments, we'll tap in there, and it shows for that particular property, they have 1 and 2 bedrooms. We can keep looking. You can see individual floor plans. You can keep looking at more details. And at any point, you can book a tour, so you can go see the apartment. And so we'll do that. The first time you book a tour in the app is when it prompts you for your social security number. And it then does a credit check. It's a soft credit check. It does not affect your credit, and it's good for every apartment you look at for the next 60 days. And then at any time we see an apartment we like, we can start the lease right through the app. So every part of the rental process is handled in the app from beginning to end, all pre-approved. Let's go back to the slides. So that's the experience for the renter in the mobile app. There's also a user interface for the landlord or the property management company. So what they see are renters who have booked tours, and then they can see more detail on each renter. So they can see things like the maximum rent that renter is approved for. They can see single incomes or combined incomes for roommates and families, and even co-signers on the apartment. And they can see interesting stats like all the apartments that renter has looked at in the last 60 days, what did they most have in common, so that the leasing agent can essentially tailor their pitch to the renter based on the renter's actual behavior. So now how this works is actually a lot of technology that it took to build this. We had an 11-person team working more than a year to kind of build out all the integrations. We had to integrate identity with Experian and others to check credit and other things. We had to integrate with property syndicators and property management systems so we can get real-time pricing and availability data for every apartment. And we had to integrate with Apple Pay and other payment processing systems. You can do things like lease deposits directly in the app. Beneath that, we had to build our entire search infrastructure so we can optimize the searches. And we had to essentially take minimum information for what you think of traditionally as an application, and then check every apartment in the database for a city, and eventually every apartment in that city right through the app. And so we launched this about 2 months ago in Houston, Texas as a beta market for it. We're getting a lot of activity in the app. My background is last company I started is a marketing software company doing over 100 million a year in business. So we have a lot of marketing talent in the company. I used to run engineering at Homey, so a lot of talent from there. And so we're getting a lot of activity. On average, 21 apartments being viewed on every user session. 15% of users are booking appointments. That stat is normally something like 2%. So people are loving the experience. Property managers are loving that we're bringing pre-qualified traffic in the door. And we plan to soon start expanding nationwide. So we're pretty excited about that. In terms of the number of renters in America, so that about approximately 111 million people rent. And those people move a lot. So in the next 12 months, 10.5 million apartments will have to be rented in America. And so we think this is basically an amazing process for doing it. We're pretty excited about it. And then finally, the way the business model on this works, Homey is free to the consumer. So the consumer doesn't pay anything. We actually save you money. You no longer have to pay an application fee when you rent an apartment, because there's no traditional concept of an application.
Wrap it up.
And then we charge the property management companies a fee when someone rents. And so that's Homey. Get pre-approved for your next apartment. And during Disrupt, you can enter to win 1 month's free rent. HomeyApp.com/giveaway. Thanks for your time.
Great job.
Thank you.
All right, judges, what do you think?
So, are those two pieces of data, credit and more importantly income, really the only things a property manager wants to pre-approve you?
Yeah, there's three things.
Three things.
So there's basically rent to income ratio, how much money you make, and then your identity, basically social security number, date of birth. We also get your current address, and that's all we need.
How do you deal with making sure people are honest with their salary if you're not pulling that in credit?
Yeah, we do. When you go and say start a lease, we prompt you to do income verification. So you can upload your pay stubs, or you can take a picture of your pay stubs in the app. We also do identity verification right through the app. You can take pictures of your driver's license directly through the app.
And what are you guys seeing in terms of drop-off just on the onboarding side? You know, disclosing my salary is somewhat a personal thing for people, and then to also do the credit check. Are you seeing big drop-offs at those points?
Yeah, so when we first started the app, you saw we asked for income up front and then social security number when you go to book a tour. The number one customer service question we have is, where do I enter my social security number? People who are ready to rent an apartment want it to be easier. So we're actually, in a release that's coming up shortly, we're going to actually ask it up front. You can skip it and still do it later, but we've been surprised at how almost eager everyone is to make this process a lot easier and just give us the information early.
Great.
Do you verify the security deposit as well, or?
We take the security deposit directly through the app. You can give us your credit card or use Apple Pay. And, or you can give it directly to property, but it's pretty convenient to do it directly through the app.
So you're a marketing guy. How do you think about the customer acquisition cost for this long term? I mean, this is another business that you don't rent an apartment every month or every week.
Yeah.
You have to remember this.
Right. So like I said, we don't charge the consumer, we charge the property. So New York City is a bit of a different market.
Yep.
It's 100% rented. The rest of the country, the vacancy rate is about 92%. There are more apartments than renters. And so we're charging them a referral fee, and that referral fee is well into the hundreds of dollars. So it gives us quite a budget to do customer acquisition.
Will you have to build different features for different geographic rental markets?
For the most part, no, we don't. New York and San Francisco are two very distinct markets. The number one question I've gotten here is, can you eliminate brokers in New York City?
Can you eliminate brokers in New York City?
Yeah, so why did I say that? We definitely are planning to launch in New York. We started in Houston because Houston's the largest multifamily apartment rental market in the US. It's also one of the fastest growing cities in the US. But I think there is a way for us to cooperate and at some point make it so that brokers are not as involved in the process in New York City. But it's going to take a little time.
Other questions?
Yeah, where are you pulling your inventory from?
At this point, that's one of the keys to making it possible now. At this point, any multifamily buildings, like professionally managed buildings, they have property management systems, all their inventory in those systems, and we're plugged in. There are three major ones. we're plugged into all of them, and we're pulling that data in real time.
So you're seeing the same supply as the other apps as well, like a Zillow or something?
Yeah, in terms of supply, we're seeing the same supply. There's also some backup databases. So in Houston, our launch market, we had 40% of all apartments in the city in our database under contract at launch. And then we have a backup database so that if you put in your own address and they're not under contract yet, you're definitely going to see it.
Are all those property managers, are they sort of span geographies, or you have to sort of sign up property managers in each geography?
Yeah, so there's a lot of property management companies in the U.S., but there's a long tail for sure. One of the other reasons we chose Houston, Texas to start, all 10 of the 10 largest apartment management companies in the U.S. are based in Houston. They have 1.7 million apartments. So just hitting about 20 of them gives you about 25% of that market alone, and 13% of the United States. So there's a lot of leverage in here, but there's also feet on the street that are going to have to sign up individual companies, smaller companies.
Do you do anything? Do you plan to do anything else with the leads that you're getting on the consumer side? We've talked about customer acquisition. You rent an apartment a few times in your life, maybe a half a dozen, and then you go on to do something else, and maybe you don't come back to HomeMe every time, but you've spent the money to get the customer. They don't match. Is it just wasted money? Where do you do them?
No, so one is we are planning to offer some additional services just free to the consumer, like rent payments. The other is the database. We're building a database of in-market renters who have already supplied their income. We've been approached already by a lot of companies who'd love to market to those consumers.
All right, let's give it up one more time for HomeMe, who are totally going to eliminate brokers in New York, right? Thanks a lot, guys.